What if I told you I said yes to sending my food allergic teenager on a 3-day wilderness trek with limited cell service and meals prepared by someone else? Well, if you've been a food allergy parent for any length of time, you probably understand why this sounds terrifying. But today I want to tell you why I said yes, because sometimes there are really good people who are willing to help. Hello and welcome to Megan's Minute. I'm your host, Megan Lavin, owner of the allergy-friendly recipe site, 𝗔𝗹𝗹𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗶. Together with Allergic Living, we discuss topics that affect those living with food allergies. So as some background, we live in Idaho, and in my church they do something called Trek. It's a 3-day reenactment where teenagers pull hand carts across the Idaho wilderness to better understand what pioneers experienced as they traveled west. Now, as you can imagine, the idea of my food allergic son spending 3 days outdoors, far away from medical care, with limited service, and eating food prepared by other people, that's plenty of reasons to hesitate. But one thing I've learned over the years is to start from a place of, can we make this work? Instead of automatically assuming the answer is a no. After the informational meeting, I introduced myself to one of the leaders and explained my son's food allergies. He immediately connected me with a person in charge of specialty diets. Okay, I'm listening. Instantly, I felt relief. The cook had been doing this for several years because his own daughter has celiac disease, and so he started to explain his separate cooking equipment and his process to avoid cross contact. The moment I heard someone naturally use the words cross contact, I knew we were starting from a good place. Now, obviously, celiac disease and food allergies aren't the same, but I'd much rather work with someone who's already accustomed to reading labels, thinking through ingredients, and preparing food safely than starting from scratch. My son avoids wheat, dairy, peanuts, and tree nuts, so the cook emailed every planned meal ahead of time and asked how I could adapt each one. He even asked what snacks my son likes so he could have safe options waiting for him. I did have to send along a few things, a homemade pancake mix, which will be in the recipe, and my potato salad recipe. Otherwise, he handled everything. And for all of our planning, things still didn't go perfectly. Spoiler alert, because now that I worked full-time outside of the home, my son packed his own sack lunch for the first day, which was required. That was the only meal they had to bring. But he left it sitting on the kitchen counter. Now, as allergy parents, that's exactly the kind of moment we dread, right? Oh, trust me, I felt horrible. But instead of falling apart, my son and his counselors figured it out. They found him some safe jerky and some fruit to get him through the day. Now, was it the lunch I would have packed? No. But was it enough? Yes. Did he starve? No. Looking back, that actually may have been a silver lining of the trip, because my son learned he could solve a problem without me. His leaders learned how to adapt to keep him safe, and everyone discovered that sometimes good enough really is good enough. He wasn't unsafe, they simply adjusted. Now, of course, sending your child somewhere with limited cell service is still nerve-wracking, but I also realized why I felt ready. That's because my son is old enough to advocate for himself. We've spent years helping him ask questions, speak up, and recognize when something isn't safe or how to just say no and go without. He also knows how to use his epinephrine auto-injector if he ever needed it. And because this cook has been so thoughtful throughout the entire planning process, I trusted he would be careful once my son arrived. That's not to say I didn't say some prayers, but I'm so happy that my son had an incredible experience. In fact, he told me he wants to do it again. Now, I would never wish celiac disease or any medical diagnosis on anyone, but I'm so incredibly grateful for people who take what they've learned through difficult circumstances and then use it to make life easier for someone else, that they come from a place of learned empathy. There's people like him who ask questions, people who are willing to learn, people who make room at the table for everyone like Mr. Dunbar. Now, those are the people who make experiences like this possible. Every successful overnight camp, church activity, or school trip builds another block of confidence for my son to build upon. Someday, my son will go away to college and will be making these decisions on his own. And practice and experiences like this prepare him for that future. So, if you're wondering whether your child can participate in something that feels intimidating, I hope this story will remind you of 2 things. First, there are really good people out there, people who care, who listen, and who are willing to learn so our kids don't have to miss out. And second, it doesn't have to be perfect to be successful. Sometimes the lunch gets left at home. It happens, unfortunately. Sometimes plans change. Sometimes your child has to solve a problem without you, and that's okay. But these moments, even though scary, they're also the moments that build confidence, resilience, and independence. As hard as it was, that's exactly what we are hoping for our kids as they go into adulthood, right? If you'd like to hear about the other camps my son has attended or trips we've taken, you can find those videos along with 50 other food allergy topics I've discussed on Allergic Living's YouTube and Instagram pages. Thanks for watching Megan's Minute. I'll see you next time.